Welcome. This is the first installment of the Artist Journal. This is, it came about because I am an actor. Hello, my name is Rio. I am an actor and general maker of things. And however you are consuming this content right now, I welcome you. Thank you so much for showing up and for being here today. We're going to talk a little bit about interdisciplinary artists and what it means to be kind of an artist that does multiple things, and how I look at that, and what other people have been saying about that. And then, I don't know, I might say some crazy shit because I always start in one direction and then I end up somewhere else. First of all, yes, I know I said I was an actor, not an artist, but I kind of look at myself as being a little bit of both and a little bit of everything. And this thing, the Artist's Journal, came about because I have an actor's journal, which I've been encouraged to keep as a part of my practice through, it started during drama school and then I've kind of kept it going, and it's literally one of the most helpful things that you can do as an artist, whatever medium that you are choosing. Obviously, if you're a painter or if you're some kind of sculptor, having a place where you write down your thoughts might not be kind of the route for you to take if you are choosing to keep track of your process and your thoughts and feelings and experiments around that. But there are other ways to, journal. It doesn't have to be written. So here I am in audio format or video format, depending on where you are in the world and what medium you are meeting me. So hello. What to say about the Actor's Journal? I think being able to reflect and the ability that specifically actors a lot of the time have, or at least the skill that we want to practice, which is awareness, is incredibly useful, and it's transferable to all aspects of your life. So I highly recommend it. What I put in my Actor's Journal is literally thoughts about my daily practice, when I do my daily practice, thoughts about auditions I've gone to, people that I've met. It's kind of just in everything, get it in there, So yeah, I wanted to kind of start this series talking about very specific topics that I find interesting. Also because I find that being an artist, and especially being an actor, is very isolating and scary sometimes, and really, really, really lonely. I don't anymore live with actors. I used to when I left drama school, and also while I was in drama school, and every person that I was surrounding myself with was also part of that very specific journey that I was going through at that time. And also just living with actors is I don't know, there's a lot of very specific experiences that we have and specific work to do that other people might not think is related to this craft at all. The people I live with now are engineers and designers and incredibly nice people, but they don't really understand me lying on the floor in semi-supine for 20 minutes. And so I find it hard to be kind of the only thing that's driving my practice constantly, and to go to auditions and then come home and to speak about my audition experience with people who've never done an audition before. Or there are also several upsides to not living with actors, don't get me wrong. I think we can be a bit much sometimes, and also it does majorly take off the pressure of me comparing myself to other people and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, the upsides are way bigger than the downsides, I feel. When I used to live with my best friend, who's also an actor, I got so much work done. I was constantly researching. I was constantly on top of my game of what I know about this industry. We were researching workshops to go to, people finding emails, cold emailing, updating this, that, or the other, editing this and uploading this, and kind of being around people who do the same kind of practice as you is very helpful. This is very yeah, it's a long-winded way to what I wanted to focus on today. But yes, the personal practice is hard when no one else is kind of like helping you drive that. The actual topic at hand today is the multidisciplinary artists. Like, what does that mean? Are we all one of those? Are there other ways to kind of categorize artistry? Is it helpful to categorize artistry? What counts as art? I mean, oh my god, that's a huge conversation. The whole what is art is just that's a way big conversation. I can't be having that. I want to start this conversation by saying, or by prefacing, that I believe personally that every single person in this world is an artist, because the act of making something is innate in every human being. Like, creativity is not something that's just been kind of bestowed upon a specific group of people, and like, we are the lucky ones who get to be creative and get to like identify as such. Like, I believe every person is creative. I believe, you know, the person cooking in the kitchen who's trying new spices and finding new flavor combinations are just as talented and actually full of artistry as like any person who paints. You know, I used to say this a lot when I was younger. Like, I believe like a really skillful athlete is also an artist. Like, their craft is artistry to me. It's just like we've decided to only label a certain type of action as art, and it's usually, I don't know, like, it's quite commercialized in a way, but also not. It's like looked at as this like privileged thing, which in many ways, maybe probably most ways, it is like a privileged thing. But then if you look at like a carpenter who makes chairs, they're making chairs. The chair itself is a piece of art, you know? But we don't label like this person carving wood as an artist. We label them as someone who carves wood, or what they call, like a woodworker. It's a craft rather than an art, which is fascinating. I live by very busy roads. If you do hear any sirens or anything, that's why. Annoying. Anyway, when talking about the multidisciplinary artist, like, what is that? We have a definition, actually, let's just Google that right now. The multidisciplinary artist can be to describe our practice if we combine a variety of disciplines together. Think, for example, sculpture, installation, and sound together in one kind of performance space, or like museum setting. Fascinating. If I think of myself as a multidisciplinary artist, I think of me, yes, being an actor, but I also make film sometimes. I also edit. I write a lot, and I've been really getting into screenwriting and script writing, like for theatre. I write a bit of like fiction and prose sometimes. I crochet and knit a lot, and I do general craft things. And I have a lot of knowledge, well, now kind of perhaps useless knowledge about like electronics, like wiring things, because I used to do that for a while, for money, for a job, as a job. And I always find it like quite hard to, you know, if you meet a new person and they go, oh, so what do you do? And I go, oh, I am, and then in my head I go, okay, what am I gonna identify as in this setting? Like, actor is the easiest thing to say. It's how I've made the most money. So like financially, I'm an actor. I'm more established as an actor as anything else. I'm probably like in the beginning stages of everything else, very much like figuring it out. And like, don't get me wrong, acting is a lifetime thing to figure out. Like, that's not something you stop learning. Actually, no art is something you stop learning. You don't ever get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done now. I'm just not going to develop any further. I'm not curious any longer. Actually, if you stop being curious about something, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't be doing that right now. Not to say that you can't pick that up later, but you know what I mean. So I go, oh, I'm an actor. And then I also make film and I write on the side as well. or I want to learn how to direct, or like I direct sometimes and I, write a bit. And like in all of my bios and stuff on social media, I go like actor, writer, director. It seems like a bit of a roundabout way to like explain my experience, but I guess that is what it is. Like all of my disciplines kind of feel a bit separate, but also very in interaction with each other all the time. Meaning that like my writing and my writing practice will inform my acting. My acting informs my writing all the time. My filmmaking informs my acting and also my writing. And my writing informs my filmmaking because I usually write what I film. And so they kind of like all exist within like a bit of like a soup. Actually, no, they exist on, one of those plates that have dividers like on them? They exist on one of those. Meaning that I can dip into each flavor, each discipline as I want to, and then mix them as I want to as well, but they're not necessarily constantly mixed, Like I'd look at my movement practice and my voice practice as like integrated so hard into acting, like they don't exist separately. I don't do any singing, which would be separate from acting, but I definitely do voice because voice is an instrument that needs to be, practiced within acting in order to have like a smooth instrument. But it's the same about movement as well. I also don't dance much, or at least definitely not professionally, outside of kind of acting and movement practice, like ensemble, that kind of stuff. Yeah, if I think about the other disciplines that I kind of dabble into, such as, fiber arts or general crafting, they don't really inform perhaps my writing and acting, but definitely my filmmaking. Like I do make props and stuff for my own projects, or at least have done in the past. So I feel like they're all kind of mixing together there. But let's look at some other types of kind of art practices, art discipline, like just titles. Sometimes labels are helpful. So you have the single disciplinary artist, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an artist who very much only does one thing. And I'm putting that in like quotation marks because, who's only really doing one thing? Everything that you ever see and feel and experience inform what you make and how you make it. And so if you are listening to an audiobook and you're also painting, like that will have an effect. Or if you went to a museum and you're a sculptor, even though it's a museum full of like paintings, they're probably going to inform the way that you sculpt your pieces, because everything kind of comes together for you to express how you feel. But yeah, let's look at this single disciplinary artist, sometimes also referred to as a monodisciplinary artist. And usually you'll state your thing as like, this is your thing. Like, I'm an actor, you act. I'm a writer, you write. Maybe you'll even be even more specific, like I write books, I write plays, I'm a copywriter, like that kind of stuff. Often these types of artists are like hyper specialized on their very specific field, often like subcategorized of that very specific field. Obviously every artist needs to do lots of study and research. And so the less you kind of broaden, what's going on out there? Someone is like knocking about in the kitchen. I actually have no idea. Anyway, if you have a lot of disciplines, I think it's kind of obvious that you will have less time to research and study each and every one of these disciplines. So maybe if you have one thing that you like hyper focus on, it's going to be a lot more time dedicated to that very specific thing. If, of course, we're looking at like two people who have the same allocated amount of time every day to practice that art, like it's a given that people in different socioeconomic places and with different statuses like will have like a different amount of time to truly kind of hone their instruments. It's a huge difference between like a single parent working full time, doing art, you know, when the kids have gone to bed or in the very, very early mornings before work, versus someone in their 20s living at home with their parents or having their parents pay for their flat so they don't have to work. You know, like there is a huge difference in time, but let's think about this as being two people who are in the exact same place in life, the exact same background. The only difference between them is what they decide to spend their time on, right? And what kind of like discipline they spend their time on. There is also something called a mixed media artist. When I think about mixed media artists, I think about like people who do watercolor and acrylic, and then also like stitch on their canvases and use like glitter and other ways to build like an art piece or a painting, or, you know, to mix clay in there and to, you know. But I still very much think of it as like a painting situation, even though it is much, much, much bigger. It's literally, it's someone who mixes several mediums in order to express themselves artistically. I mean, the example that I have here is a photo collage that has been drawn or painted on. It's still considered a 2D work, but it has a mixed selection of media. So it's got the photo aspect of it, like the photography aspect, and then also it's got the paint aspect of it. Now, the multidisciplinary artist has the definition of like someone who practices multiple disciplines, and these might not be related at all, or they might relate to each other. It's often interchanged with multimedia artists, which is different to mixed media artists in ways that I don't really understand. But it's essentially just about blending several disciplines together to form one field, or a new field. Usually kind of a broad knowledge of a whole bunch of subjects, and then marry them together, or keeping them separately from each other, but in a way kind of, you know, getting them on one track. Has a wide knowledge base that is deeply invested in a range of materials, how those materials are used together, and the processes inherent to those materials. Usually a fairly diverse set of research to back all of this up as well. Lots of time like studying. I love studying. And then you have something called interdisciplinary artist, not to be confused with a multidisciplinary artist, okay? Inter, I don't know if you know, inter means together or mutual. So this would be something where you have several disciplines that might not have much to do with each other, but they are being married together into one art form. So say, an example that I found when researching this was someone who's a multidisciplinary artist are like, they're a therapist and they're also a musician. If they're an interdisciplinary artist, they're a musical therapist, meaning they use music in the way that they therapize. Is that the correct verb? To therapize? That doesn't sound right. Anyway, they've like found a way to marry them together so they're one form rather than separate forms that sometimes interact with each other, you know? It's a more thorough blend of concept, philosophy, process, tools, and also more. Often if you're an interdisciplinary artist, you're probably not going to be like doing anything for like shits and gigs, you know? Like, it's probably like quite serious at that point. You've spent a whole bunch of time like figuring this out. Like, nobody is a musical therapist just for shits and gigs because it's fun, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure it's like very giving and incredibly fun, but that's like, you know, that takes years. And then there was this one thing that I found when doing this research that I've never heard about before, and it's called the transdisciplinary artist. And immediately I go, ooh, what's that? Tell me more. And it's basically this idea of practice or discipline that completely transcends the labels of like what an artist is. So maybe that actually ties into what I was speaking about earlier about like a cook being an artist in the kitchen, or a footballer being an artist in the field with the way that they're like moving the ball around, and the craft and the practice that it takes for that. Like, you wouldn't necessarily associate those with being artists, but in a way that they are, you know, like they are. In transdisciplinary artistry, the lines that divide the different fields are so blurred that everything's kind of mixing together. That would be a soup bowl. It's someone who looks for more of a holistic and overall approach to something rather than like a product-based, like end goal in mind situation. So the research is also like so much a part of this practice, in ways that isn't just like there to support the discipline itself, but it's actually a part of the process. Like, it's a part of the piece. The scientific approach, the study, the piecing things together, the, you know, picking things, being curious about things, like that's also part of the final piece, because there is no final piece, you know? Okay, so let me read this to you. TED conferences, so, you know, TED Talks. TED Talk conferences are a great example of transdisciplinary thinking. A person or group of people can be specialists in their field, but mold together as a collective to poll processes and philosophies to solve complex issues. The driving force behind this model of thinking is that some concepts or problems simply can't be solved by singular means. Very interesting. Definitely very, very interesting. So how do you know if you're meant to be a multidisciplinary artist? Girl, I don't know. How do you know if you're meant to be an artist? I don't know. I just felt a calling, didn't you? What's going on? No, but in all seriousness, I don't know, maybe you find yourself being curious about several things. Maybe there isn't like one thing that is like really pushing you forward. Maybe there are several things that you find joy in doing, that you find joy in ways of expressing yourself, that feels true to your soul. Like, I didn't actually start identifying as someone who does multiple things until like maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Because, I don't know, like I've always just like been an actor. I've always only wanted just that one thing. It's like from the age of 3 or something, from the age of me knowing what like training was, that's the only thing that I've ever wanted to do. And I like went to drama school and I was like, I'm an actor. This is the only thing that I want to do. I don't want to write, I don't want to direct, I don't want to create, like I just want to act. That's what I want to do. That's my calling, that's my passion, that's my practice. Like that's what I want. And then drama school was hard. Maybe I'll do like an entire episode on drama school, because that was, kicked my ass. That did. Truly kicked my ass. There is one thing that they don't speak about when it comes to like the acting profession. People are going to look at you, and I'm not just meaning like your physical being. I'm meaning like all of your little nuances and behaviors and thoughts and feelings, and people are going to pick that shit apart, okay? And I went to like a very like healthy drama school where everything was like, as long as you're comfortable, you know, we don't want to push you out of your comfort zone. Like we want to create like a healthy, safe environment for you to learn and grow. So like I went to one of the good ones. I didn't go to one of the training facilities where they believe in, you know, torture, essentially, in order to create like good artists, because that's bullshit. And even then, it was so hard to have someone like look at you like intently and be like, that's a thing that you do. That's a way that you react to that very specific thing. Why is that? Have some introspection. Go in to yourself and figure out why. Like it's very, it's person heavy for sure. The acting profession is very person heavy. And in the last year, maybe second year, maybe third year, I'm not sure, I started really doubting if acting was for me, because it was so hard. It was horribly, horribly hard. And I started doing like other things. We did a project in third year where we wrote like a scene together, like a very short scene together. And I found a lot of joy in that. And I was like, oh, maybe this is what I want to do. And then I've wanted to make films for a long time. Like that has always been a part of like what I wanted to do. But like acting just was so much stronger in me that I kind of put that like very much on the back burner. Like, I used to, think it was fun to make films when I was 12. And now I don't anymore. But then I started like really engaging with filmmaking and what good filmmaking is and where, like how to learn and that kind of stuff. And then as my final project for drama school, I made a film. And that film has actually won several awards. So like, it looks like I have like a bit of something for it. I don't know. Maybe something. I also like literally won a scholarship for filmmaking. Other, like not my acting, but my filmmaking skills, or at least future skills, I guess. So that was definitely the right thing to do. But I just think it all comes back to curiosity. It all comes back to like where you're curious. Like nothing is gonna be created if you're not curious about that thing. And you don't have to like go ahead and be like, oh, okay, let me decide on some principles and then go and find those principles. Like you don't have to be like, okay, I think I want to be an artist. I want to be multidisciplinary artist, meaning, okay, I'm going to pick these disciplines and then I'm going to figure that out. Like the curiosity leads you down the paths where you need to go. And so you just need to be able to engage with your own curiosity. I love that word, curiosity. It's such a good word. But yeah, you have to be able to pick up on your signals of curiosity and to kind of weed away everything that doesn't matter. All of the what am I having for dinner, all of the when am I getting the bus to work, all of the does my boyfriend love me, like you need to be able to put all of that away and follow down the like paths of research and of curiosity and interest. And maybe if you're meant to do several things and that's what fills your soul, you'll probably start doing several things. Like I knit and crochet and I look at that as just as much a part of my creative practice as like reading a play or doing a self-tape or learning lines or I don't know, like filming things and editing it together. Like I look at the knitting of the sock as just as much of a practice for the creative part of my brain as writing a scene is, I do think there is something to be said though about being able to do several things at once and to do them healthily and sustainably and kind of afford as much attention that each of the disciplines need. Like it definitely feels much easier for me to only focus on the acting, because if I have full focus on the acting, that means I have enough time to do all of the background stuff that needs to be done. I have time to go to the screen tests and to the workshops and do the short courses and the masterclasses and to send those emails and do that research and all of those things. But if I'm also kind of practicing my writing, I have to dedicate a little bit of that time that I would have usually given to my acting practice over to the writing practice, meaning that I'm not going to get as much done, or at least develop as quickly, also in quotation marks for anyone listening, as I would have if I wasn't writing. But I think I just feel like I need to do all in a way. I definitely write more now than I used to. I'm in the process of writing a play. Hello. I have a video on that if you want to have a look. I think you can definitely do multiple things, have multiple disciplines and do that in a healthy way and in a sustainable way. You just have to be so specific about the tasks at hand. and so specific about the goals that you have, like short-term goals. I'm talking every month, be like, I'm going to email 5 people. And then obviously in emailing 5 people, you have to do the research of finding what 5 people to email, and then also find a way to contact them. Lots of people don't have like their emails out on the interwebs and stuff. And so, you know, not to say don't pester people. Oh my God, I'll do an entire little segment on like cold emails or how to get seen, essentially, or what I do in order to like feel like I'm in the loop. I think I'll finish this thought because, oh my God, I really need to go eat some tin. I think I'll finish this thought by saying that I already believe that art is so much about studying and research. Like, it's so much about what interests you about that thing and how you stay connected to the rest of the world, I guess, and how you connect the thing that you're making or the things that you're making to yourself and to other people. I think adding more disciplines into that definitely makes the pool of studying and researching like bigger, but I also think it does make you aware and does force you to practice kind of finding connection between things and weaving things together, which I think is just like an incredibly useful skill. I also think it's really, really, really helpful to do something that's like so separate from your practice or your discipline. Like knitting and crocheting for me is so helpful because I get to be creative in a way that has nothing to do with like my creative side. You know what I mean? Like my job, my practice, my art. So I get to practice the, you know, coming up with ideas, the executing of a task, an idea, seeing something come to fruition, of making decisions quickly, finding solutions, creating, molding, shaping, but in a way that doesn't feel super stressful. Because sometimes you go, I'm an actor, so I have to be good at acting. And to be good at and then you're judging everything that you're doing. Even before you're kind of making it and before you're interacting with it, you're like already deciding that it has to be a specific way, which I think can be kind of a pitfall for many people and also me. So I just want to ask as like a final, what are you drawn towards? What is it that connects you and what is it that connects your disciplines? Like maybe a good thing to do is to like write down all of the things that interest you and see if any of them are in connection with each other. And if you already have disciplines that you're engaging in, just have a look next time you're engaging with one of them and doing one of the practices to see if there is a way for them to weave together and come together. Maybe there isn't, you know, but at least then it's a conscious choice rather than like you not being at the driving wheel, you know, of the car that is, you know, your art practice. Okay, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will speak to you next time. And yeah, let's go have a really, really good week. Okay, bye.